Hello everyone. This is part 2 on the Lora Badman murders. Was my common law wife as a teenager. This is her high school in Kelowna. She was actually an honor roll student here. She was so smart, and she was a native girl. She had a sad life. We both grew up in group homes, and she came from a drug-addicted alcohol family of native people, and her uncle shot her mother with a rifle on the way up the driveway from the hospital with her, and she had to switch her name at birth to protect her from her family because of their addictions and thought disorders and the way they think and act. Cute dogs here. So she was actually living in a home with a lady named Lora Badman, who ran the Kelowna Women's Shelter for many years, and she was her foster mom. I remember that she was worried about me being with her because I was such a little badass at the time, always getting into trouble. So she's worried Laura would get into trouble because of me, but she never did because of me. But this is the Okanagan Christian School. As far as I know, it's Catholic, and she was an honor roll student here. And so at lunchtime, she was bi. A lot of my wives were bi, and she would come from here to my house around the corner, and she would come for lunch and a little bit of love and some sex, and then she would go back to school and study, and then at the end of the day, most weekdays, she stayed at my house, and I lived in a group home where I had my own room in the basement with foster sisters and brothers, and the back door was often used when my foster mom, Alma, was asleep. Alma was an elderly woman who had a daughter and granddaughters and sons, and she worked for the Kelowna Daily Courier as a mail deliverer, and I used to help her on her route every day in the mornings. She just lived around the corner here. That house has since been rebuilt, so I'll take you to where the house was. And yeah, I lived there for quite a few years, and Laura was basically my common law wife. She came and went as she pleased from my basement door, and I think my foster mom knew, but she didn't do anything. She died, so she probably knew. She just didn't do anything. She didn't care. But she loved me very much, and I loved her for many years before she was murdered. And I wanted to make her more human to you, that she was a real person who was so smart as an honor roll student before being given the drugs by the man that took her to Vancouver to make her into a prostitute and his friends from his cult, that she could have been a doctor or a lawyer or a judge or a politician. She was that kind of smart girl. And I love women who are smart. Like, the smarter women are, the more I love them. And the more languages they speak. I don't care if they work at 7-Eleven, but if they can speak like 5-6 languages or more, that turns me on. Or they can do like high mathematics, that turns me on. Or they're like so into medicine, they know how to do it all, that turns me on. And Laura was that kind of smart girl. Here's the bus, everyone. The one that they use, locked up for the weekend. So that was Laura, and I loved her so much. So she would walk along here at lunchtime and just come around the corner to my group home. Sometimes I think we used to use this alleyway. But I love my wife, Laura, very much. She would often give me gifts from the bisexual female perspective, where she wanted me to have sex with her girlfriends. And she gave me a t-shirt that said TA Patrol, or Tits and Ass Patrol, when I was about 14. I lived here with her 14, 15, 16. You know, I was fairly young. But I love my wife, so I'm doing this for her because I want the world to solve her murder. Because Laura was a person And she was brilliant and beautiful and gorgeous. And those men just gave her the drugs just so they could addict her, just so they could sell her, just so they could make money. And you know, my wife didn't deserve that. She didn't deserve to be given drugs and told, oh, just try this. And you know, do it for a while, and if you like it, I'll give you some more. And then when you're good and hooked, well, you have to pay for that now. I mean, that's just brutal what they do to girls, the pimps. And then they took my wife out in the forest, and they raped and beat and tortured her for days, and then they shot her. So I used to be able to cut through the backside of this church, but it's all fenced off. And over there, the new house, that's where my foster mom actually lived. And the house is new. It's not the same house, so I won't show the number, but that's where it stood. And she used to come downstairs to the back door and knock twice, and I would let her in. I loved her so much. She mostly lived at my house while she went to that school. Her foster mom knew where she was, that she was with me. That was before cell phones. You had to like use a landline. It was like 1980 something. But this is the story of how much I loved her and how much she loved me. And I didn't want anyone to ever do this to my wives. No one. I mean, would you want someone to murder your wife? Like, under common law status of today, her living with me for like literally about 4 years of school, you know, every single night basically on weekdays, and then weekends we went out with other girls and partied and had fun. That's just it, people. I loved my wife, and I didn't want anyone to ever do that. We just had an argument at the time, and it didn't work out over the argument. Maybe we shouldn't have argued. It was just probably something stupid. Most of the times in relationships it is. So this new big house here, this stands where my foster mom's house stood. See, I lived so close by to the school at the time. It just made it so convenient for our love affair, and for her to bring girls that came and went with her, and invite other girls when she's not home to come over and be with her man, because that was her subculture in the bi-female sexuality. She didn't mind sharing me with her girlfriends. It was on McCurdy Road, and that house right there, that stands where my group home once was. The group homes are all closed now. They pulled the funding from Ottawa, but you know, I was born in the Crown. I'd like to see that sort of thing reopened if they put me in, and I'd like to see care for children that were like me, that have no one. I don't want them to sleep in shopping carts on the street and have nowhere to go. You know, I was so lucky to have Alma at the time. He was so understanding and took care of me. She fed me crap food, but she was a bachelorette. She didn't have a husband, and she didn't cook very well, so it was always like those like sausage dogs, or you know, macaroni and cheese on a container, or something like that to eat. So anyways, thank you very much. If any of you know any information on the Laura Badman's murders and you want to turn it into police, I believe the number is 250-862-TIPS. Please turn it in and catch the murderer of my common law wife.